Hello, my name is John, and for my YouTube channel I've chosen the nickname Conspiratrononator. Because all the good names were taken, I had to add that many syllables to come up with something that didn't show up in a Google search. I'm going to present you with a series of videos that explain unique and unusual viewpoints on life, the universe, and everything. Tonight I'm going to present a lecture entitled A Mathematical Difficulty with Evolution Which Could Argue for God's Existence. We've been told for years that evolution produced life spontaneously by random chance, and that this is proved by the fossil record, and of course this in turn proves there is no God. What I intend to show here is that the evolution of life by random chance is very likely a mathematical impossibility, and by inference, the existence of life implies the existence of an intelligent agent, a creator. But first let's consider a couple of softer arguments. For example, the idea that the fossil record proves evolution. Let us show by a counterexample, simply by examining the skeletons of some modern animals. We will use the common dog, but similar examples could be made for horses or other animals. Canis canis the dog. Put the skeleton of a Chihuahua next to a Beagle, next to a Labrador, next to a St. Bernard. It almost looks like a mini fossil record. But in spite of their size differences, they're all the same species, which means that large changes in bone size and shape are possible within the same species. Therefore, the bones in the fossil record can't really be said to prove much about changes in genes. It's genes that evolve, not bones. But doesn't a fossil record prove there was no creator? Well, let's take a look at another counterexample, the fossil record of the evolution of the automobile. Here are some fossils from an archaeological dig at the local junkyard. We're going to examine our axle bones and the reconstructed auto. First we see the Model T-osaurus and the axle bone and reconstructed auto. Then we see a 32 Couposaurus, the axle bone and the reconstructed auto. Then a 49 Fordosaurus, axle bone and reconstructed auto. 64 Mustangosaurus, axle bone and reconstructed auto. Clearly, because there is a fossil record of incremental advancement, automobiles evolved spontaneously and humans must be a myth, right? You get the idea. If real science were being used to explain evolution, then you would show evolution between two species by comparing genomes, enumerating the differences, proposing a mechanism of change, and performing a repeatable experiment to show that mechanism can cause the change in the allotted time, and then repeat as needed. So why isn't anyone doing this? I mean, not on a serious basis. There are a few examples of genetic changes leading to mutations, but no one has ever generated the entire genome of a species and shown it evolving into another species. And for that matter, why haven't they been able to produce the initial life in a test tube? One good reason may be that evolution through random chance is, as it turns out, mind-numbingly impossible from a mathematical point of view. Let's take a look at the math involved. This is DNA. It's made up of genes, which are made up of base pairs of amino acids, namely adenine, thymine, cytosine, and guanine. They form pairs, AT and CG. There are 500,000 base pairs in even the simplest one-celled life form. There are around 3 billion pairs in a human cell. Now, much of the genetic material in any cell is thought to be mostly inert. So let's say that of the 500,000 base pairs in a simple life form, only 1 in 50 belong to a gene that does anything useful. That's 10,000 positions, each of which can be AT or CG. So that's 2 choices, AT or CG, for the first position, times 2 for the second, times 2 for the third. Keep going 10,000 times. So you get 2 to the 10,000th power combinations. Now, to turn that into a regular decimal number like we're used to seeing, we know that 2 to the 20th power is a little over 1 million. Dividing that 20 out of the 10,000th power leaves 500. So we raise that 1 million, which represents 2 to the 20th power, to another 500th power, And as a result, you have 1 million times 1 million times 1 million 500 times, which gives you a 1 followed by 3,000 zeros. That's how many possible combinations of working working DNA base pairs there are in a simple one-celled organism. That's a pretty big number. It looks like this. There's a 1 over there to the left, followed by, there's more on the next page, 3,000 zeros. Yikes. So let's look back at ancient Earth. Organic chemicals are supposed to be bubbling around in the ancient world in a primordial soup, and the chemicals are bumping into each other and forming DNA. But we are told the Earth was around a long time, long enough to form DNA. No, not by a long shot. Trying one new combination of DNA every second since the Earth was formed would give you 4.5 billion years times 31,536,000 seconds per year, which equals roughly 141,912,000 billion seconds. Let's round that up to a billion seconds. Okay, that's a 1 with 18 zeros. So we have time to do 1 with 18 zeros combinations out of the 1 with 3,000 zeros combinations. So we divide 18 zeros out of that. We still have a 1 followed by 2,982 zeros as a chance of forming, one in that many, as a chance of forming a one-celled genome by random chance. Okay, so you would say, but wait, there wasn't just one organism evolving at once. Maybe there were a trillion at once. Even better, a trillion organisms evolving in parallel on every square meter of the Earth. That's 510 trillion square meters. Let's round that up to 1,000 trillion square meters. Then times a trillion organisms per square meter. So you add that all up, that's 1 followed by 27 zeros, organisms evolving in parallel. So let's take that 1 followed by 27 zeros and divide that out of the number we have to cover. So you still have less than one chance in 1 followed by 2,955 zeros of forming a one-celled genome by random chance. But wait. Maybe evolution goes faster than that. Maybe it can form genes in the smallest time interval there is, which is known as Planck's time. Planck's time is about 3.3 times 10 to the minus 44 seconds. So let's be generous and say we can evolve 1 followed by 46 zeros times per second. That's really fast. So dividing out 46 more zeros for each of those trillion creatures on each of those square meters, they're each evolving 1 followed by 46 zeros times per second. You divide those 46 zeros out of all the possibilities we have to cover, and you have 1 followed by 2,909 zeros, and one chance in that number of forming a simple genome. But wait, maybe evolution started before the Earth was formed. The universe is about 3 times as old as the Earth. Let's round that up to 10 times. So dividing by another 10, you now have less than one chance in 1 followed by 2,908 zeros of forming a one-celled genome by random chance. But wait, maybe evolution started on other planets. The number of habitable planets in the galaxy is unknown, but let's shoot high and say it's 100 trillion. That's 14 more zeros off, so you now have less than one chance in 1 followed by 2,894 zeros of forming a one-celled genome by random chance. But wait, maybe evolution started in another galaxy. The universe has about 200 billion galaxies. Let's round that up to a trillion. So that's another 12 zeros off. So you now have less than one chance in 1 followed by 2,882 zeros of forming a one-celled genome by random chance. But wait, maybe evolution started in a parallel universe. We can't leave any stone unturned. The multiverse might contain a trillion universes. So that's another 24 zeros. So dividing that out, you have a trillion creatures evolving on every square meter of every planet in every galaxy in every universe of the multiverse, changing genes in Planck's time and you have less than 1 chance in 1, followed by 2,858 zeros, of forming a one-celled genome by random chance. So that's 1 chance in 1, followed by that many zeros continued on the next page. That's a lot of zeros. Which all pretty much means we've been bamboozled all these years. Far from being proven, evolution by random chance isn't even possible. Not even the teeniest, tiniest chance of a sliver of a fraction of a snowball's chance in heck of happening. There's 2 major consequences of teaching this falsehood for so long: erosion of faith and erosion of science. As far as faith goes, if anyone tells you the fossil record proves evolution and that therefore there is no God, they are full of element BU, pure bull-onium. As of now, it appears that the opposite is true. Evolution through random chance is impossible, and the fossil record is simply the scrap parts from God's junkyard. But as far as secular society goes, the false teachings of evolution have led to an age of pseudoscience. The fossil record is an observed phenomenon. Evolution is an hypothesis to explain it. By allowing evolutionists to use the original phenomenon as proof of the hypothesis, we end up with circular logic and an excuse to believe almost any theory anyone proposes. For example, I see a light in the sky. It must be a UFO. What's my proof? Well, there's a light in the sky, so that proves it's a UFO. Or I see a big hairy shape running through the woods. It must be Bigfoot. What's my proof? Well, there's a hairy shape running through the woods, so that proves it's Bigfoot, or Chupacabra, or the Illuminati, etc., etc. We need to reverse the disastrous effects that the confused teaching of evolution has had on our children's understanding of science. We don't need them to believe in science, we need them to know how to do science. But because of the way we teach belief in science, a cult has arisen, which we can call Scientocracy, not Scientology. We humans need something to put our faith in, so scientists are elevated to the post of magical wizards. They are able to expound on any subject, whether they've studied it or not, and they are never wrong because of the magical powers that science gives them. If you don't agree with their preaching, you are stupid. Their science is proven with bullying, character assassination, and humiliation. Also sometimes referred to as the consensus of the scientific community. But there is an even darker motive for teaching children to believe in evolution. It is by people who are big fans of these guys: Karl Marx, Vladimir Ilyich Lenin, and Joseph Stalin. They said, evolution prepares for revolution and creates the ground for it. Revolution consummates the process of evolution and facilitates its further activity. Given that all the resources of the known universe, of all the known universes, could not have come remotely close to producing even the simplest life form by random chance, it should be abundantly clear that some intelligence guided the process. Not just some intelligence, something trillions and trillions of times more powerful than random chance. Some call that intelligence God, and that exercise of power a miracle. Which tends to reinforce what these guys said. These are the founding fathers. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. That is the basis of our country. Now, for those of you who really, really stubbornly refuse to believe in God in spite of all the evidence, you've got a monumental task ahead of you. Show how nature overcame those odds. And going by the maxim, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me, no more hand-waving and blowing smoke and making vague, mystical references to scientific consensus this time. Do it with real science, with repeatable, controlled experiments that show how the genes changed and how they made that many changes in the time available. Like that's going to happen. We are sure to hear a lot more hot air, misdirection, and bullying than real science out of that crowd. For those of you who are Christian, I do have an appeal. If this presentation bolsters your faith in God, please remember the words of Jesus in Luke 6:42. How can you say to your brother, "Brother, let me take the speck out of your eye," when you yourself fail to see the plank in your own eye? You hypocrite! First take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. Don't arrogantly assume that your faith gives you superpowers to tell other people how to run their lives. Instead, try the advice in Matthew 5:16. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. Try to live a life that is so kind and honest and loving that people ask you how you do it. Then you can share the gospel with them and have credibility when you do so. Well, quod erat demonstrandum. That's enough for this episode. Stay tuned for more exciting adventures from the Conspiratrononator.